Hey, wanted to put this quick presentation together for you because a lot of people have worked with me and continue to work with me more frequently on the energy levels that I work with, and I thought it would be really useful especially for those guys who have already experienced the work, to put into context exactly what's going on, exactly what to expect, and to kind of see a bigger picture as to why it's worth working with me and why going through the three energy sessions with me is going to be highly impactful in your life. And for anyone new who's thinking about giving it a go, hopefully this gives it a bit more context, and we can really see why. Because quite often when we think about having energy healing, it can be fairly subjective. It can be quite, it's just like, that was a nice experience. I felt this, I felt that, but what was the point essentially? What has it done for me? And so I wanted to put this into some kind of context for you all. So essentially, we're going to look at consciousness first of all. Now, you may have heard of something called the chakra system. And essentially, without going into too much detail about chakras, you can see these 7 chakras here in the human body. Think of chakras like little radio dishes, satellite dishes that are able to receive information, broadcasts. And the more you have available, the more information you can receive. The more nuanced and varied and full spectrum of information you can receive. And so when all of your little satellite dishes are able to receive all of the information in the universe, then you can receive some pretty wild and fully extensive information about how everything works, about how the universe works, energy, the power of our mind, how we're connected to the earth and the stars, and consciousness and God or source. When we have full information coming in, we have this awareness, we have this full understanding. Now, as you can imagine, we are nowhere near that right now because, as we go on to our next little slide here, there is a grand cycle playing out of consciousness. There is a very famous yogi, this guy, Sri Yukteswar, top left here. He was a very powerful yogi who did a lot of work and was able to expand his consciousness beyond most of our general capabilities. And he was able to receive more information, therefore. And what he was able to perceive with this information is that there's a grand cycle. Now, this looks like a quite complicated thing going on here, but essentially, if you look at these two golden, you have like the golden period at the top, Satya Yuga. A yuga is an age, a period of time. So we're talking about 4 distinct ages in a grand cycle of consciousness. We have the Treta Yuga, the silver age, which is our mental age. The Satya Yuga is the enlightened age, where we have full access to all the information. That's when all chakras are receiving all of the information. So we're incredibly enlightened and we know a hell of a lot. It's beyond our comprehension right now what that would look like. Then we have the Treta Yuga. So what's this grand cycle teaches us is that the grand cycle is a 24,000 year cycle. And there's 12,000 years where we go from having all of the information coming in through all of the chakras to gradually reducing the information that's available. So we're actually kind of, if you like, shutting down the chakras from the top as we start to descend down 12,000 years. So we stop receiving information on these higher levels. We start to receive less and less and less information about how everything is. And as we go down and descend, we lose more and more of our connection to the information. And essentially, we're becoming more and more primal, less and less connected and understanding about how everything works, and more animalistic in our nature as we go down. So then we descend into Treta Yuga, we then descend into Dwapara Yuga, and then finally this bottom one, Kali Yuga. Now, we've been in Kali Yuga for quite a while. As much as we think we are an extremely advanced civilization, consciously, we are very contracted. We have very little access to the amount of information that is actually out there. So think of yourself a bit like a DAB radio, in the fact that when you are a DAB radio, you can access so many radio stations, it's unbelievable. But if we were in Kali Yuga, we wouldn't be a DAB radio. We'd be an old school radio that could only manually tune into a handful of radio stations, and therefore only receive a limited amount of information, and therefore understanding about how everything is. So we have been in Kali Yuga for quite a while, and we've been transitioning to Dwapara Yuga. Kali Yuga is very primal. It's all about survival. Its modus operandum is just to keep the species going. So it's survival of the fittest. And as you'll see in the next slide in a minute, it's pretty much just very animalistic by nature. When consciousness starts to expand up through the next 12,000 years, we go from this Kali Yuga stage up into Dwapara Yuga. And Dwapara Yuga is the energy age. And it's starting to understand how energy works. We start to open up more of our chakras to be able to receive more information, and therefore understand how to work with energy within our body, and how to heal, and what that all represents. And it's thought right now that we are coming towards the end of a transition stage from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga. And as Sri Yukteswar suggested, is that at the end of the transition stage is when the shit really hits the fan, when we see a complete collapse of the structures that were created in Kali Yuga, survival structures, where in Kali Yuga we had to toe the line. We had a hierarchy. We have the people in charge, and then we have everyone who's towing the line, doing what they're told, fitting in, and in lots of ways suppressing their individuality. Because in Kali Yuga, individuality for survival doesn't do us any favors. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to express individuality, because that essentially, from a primal sense, causes danger if we don't want to bring attention to ourselves. So we constructed our entire civilization around the energy, the consciousness of Kali Yuga over the past few thousand years. And now we're transitioning, as you can see quite clearly in the world. Every big structure is now crumbling, collapsing, breaking down. It's just not working anymore. And we are in quite a state in the world, as I'm sure you'd appreciate. But there is a promising occurrence going on in the fact that we are now moving into Dwapara Yuga, and there are many people who are transitioning into the consciousness of Dwapara Yuga, including myself, through the ways that I've connected with some phenomenal people in the world. And we're able to now start creating the new systems, the systems that are sustainable, the systems that aren't based on survival. And as you'll see in this next chart, it's like we're going from analog. Do you remember 2012? Our TV stations were primarily, they were analog, and we would only be able to receive 5 channels. So really, really just like the chakras, limited information. And then we did a digital switch over where we can now we can get Sky, cable, whatever, tons and tons of amazing new information. Now, as human beings, our consciousness is going through this shift from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga. And that means a lot more information is now available to us. But we need to make that transition. We need to make that upgrade. On your TV stations, you needed to get a different type of aerial and have it pointing in a different direction. And that's what I do for people with my energy work. I help them upgrade. I help them shift from being stuck in a very primal, basic level of consciousness, and therefore just living day to day in more of a survival sense, to a thriving way of consciousness where we support each other, where we realize our individuality and we express that individuality, because it's only through expressing individuality that we can find new ways to create new systems and structures that are going to replace the crumbling old structures. So if you look at these 3 chakras, when we go back to seeing down here in the chakra system, we call these the 3 lower chakras and the 3 higher chakras. Keep that in mind with these 3 lower ones. So what we have when we're in analog in Kali Yuga is we use this third chakra, Manipura, to actually suppress and dominate and control all of the very powerful energy of the second chakra in the middle here, which is called Svadhisthana, which is all about uniqueness, all about vision, all about individuality. It's our sexual energy, it's our creative energy, it's the most powerful form of energy we have available to us. And what we do to fit in Kali Yuga, as the consciousness requires, is that we use Manipura to suppress it, to keep it down. So therefore, we don't understand our uniqueness. We don't know who we are at the heart of our individual nature. We don't know what our purpose is on Earth because we're not receiving that information. It stays suppressed and stays held down. And because of that, that worked for the entirety of Kali Yuga, but it's just simply not working now. When I use my energy work, and I'll talk about that in a second, I help you switch over from, rather than suppressing your uniqueness, rather than keeping it held down, and that's including your emotions, are all part of Svadhisthana chakra, this middle chakra, is that you go through a really powerful process of starting to bring your uniqueness and your individuality and your power up to the surface. So instead of using this third chakra, Manipura, to actually hold the uniqueness down, you use Manipura and embrace it to actually have the courage to be yourself, to actually have the bravery to stand out from a crowd that is all trying to fit in and toe the line. And this causes, of course, quite a lot of fantastic and challenging situations in our life, because one, we stand out like a sore thumb, but two, we are realizing our full potential and our full power. And this is when we will start to find that all the stuff that challenges us in our life, physical health, mental health, emotional health, financial health, relationship health, on every single level, our career, our purpose, all of that is now going to come to the surface. And there's a process of getting used to having this emotion, because the Svadhisthana chakra is an emotional chakra, is actually having emotion present within our body rather than suppressing emotions. But it's much more than just the emotions. It's suppressing our uniqueness, our power, our individuality, our ability to create change, our ability to have true impact on this world and collaborate with other amazing change makers, other people who are brave enough to realize their uniqueness and to really start to build a system, new structures, new systems, revolutionary ways, unique ways of seeing the world and seeing solutions to the biggest problems we have in the world. So it's well worth shifting over, because the world sorely needs it. God damn it. And so I learned my work, just to give you just a brief insight before I finish here. I learned my work through one of my Pilates mentors. She told me about this guy, Eric Pearl, who does reconnective healing. And I saw this guy and I thought, what a real interesting character, to say the least. And I really wasn't that interested, if I was honest. But something called me to go and work with him. So I went and trained, and through a wonderful series of events, and especially in the past year, I mean, I trained with Eric over 10 years ago, but in the past year, some fantastic coincidences and synchronicities have actually happened to me, which has now really it's accentuated and enlivened my abilities to help people to shift over, to help people for their uniqueness to come to the surface, for them to start processing emotions, for them to come up with genius ideas. And this is what I started to discover with my clients, is my clients were starting to come up with these phenomenal ideas about new ways of doing things, and really feeling that they had purpose and passion and drive in their life. For the first time, they really felt like they were fully embracing the fullness of who they are. And I would often work, because I'm a hands-on body worker, so I would often work with the physical work, the fascia, and then do a little bit of energy work afterwards. But you know what? I'm finding that the energy work, the reconnective healing, plus I've trained with some other big energy healing mentors, so I kind of combine a little bit of some other work with it. I won't go into that right now, but I'm finding the full package of what I offer is very clearly helping people to shift from this analog to digital. And literally, as we use these cliche phrases, live the best life, etc., I see it way more than just living the best life for you personally, which of course you're going to be doing. But I see like the world sorely needs everyone to make this shift in order to have the impact and create the change in the world that's sorely needed right now. So, you know, that's it in a nutshell. Not that much. I mean, we're only becoming this phenomenal evolutionary advancement, and helping to save the world on every aspect. So it's quite a big thing, and I am very honoured to have this as part of my purpose. And as I now have set up, is I'm still developing the website, but who knows, when you see this, it might be set up fully, is my Life Purpose Guy workshop. So you can get a little bit more of an idea of how to work with me, what it entails. And there's a lot more to this, which will be on the website, because just imagine if I brought together all these phenomenal people who have made that shift, who then collaborate together, who then help each other out. What change could we all create in the world? And that's why I want to really leave it there, because this is big. It's big for me, and my clients are starting to really develop their uniqueness, and they have the support, they have the structure, and they have people who are there with them, other freaks who have been willing, who have opened up to their uniqueness. And so, you know, it's a scary proposition to bring your fullness to the surface and be vulnerable out in the world. Hey, but when you're standing side by side with a bunch of other people who have been brave enough to do the same, then it's an exciting journey as well. So that's what working with me essentially does. Creates this upgrade. And for me, I'm contributing to the bigger picture of helping to really change the world for the better. So I hope you find that useful. And hey, look, if I really look forward to working with you in the future, if you're watching this that way. And if you've already worked with me, you will already know that you're part of this group of amazing people, and you will continue to get support from me and everything that I'm looking to build. So, hey, thank you for watching this little presentation.